So, you ready to sell your home? Great. Let me go get my sign. I'll put it in the yard. We'll get you moved. If only it were that easy. Coming up on Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour, I'm going to go over all the steps, or at least most of the steps, of selling your home. Hi, I'm David Taylor and welcome to Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour. So today we're going to talk about the home selling process. If only it were so easy that I could put a sign in your front yard, get it on the multiple listing service, get it sold for you. That would be great. Instead, I have counted 21 different steps, and there's actually probably a bunch of sub-steps within each of those steps that we could talk about. So I'm going to give you the brief overview of everyone, and if you have questions, leave them down below, or feel free to reach out directly by phone, email, or text message, and I'd be happy to talk those over with you. Okay, every now and then I may need to put my glasses on, but I think I should be able to do this. So first thing that we do is when someone's interested in selling their home is we do a listing consultation, and we have started to do that via Zoom because of COVID, and it actually works out really well. People can sit in their pajamas or their sweatpants and talk to me about their plans, when they want to move, why they want to move, time frame, all that sort of stuff. And it typically takes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes tops, but it gives us a general overview about whether or not now is the right time, or whether or not we need to be thinking into the future about when you want to sell your home. So after we do that, if you decide, yeah, I am ready to go, let's schedule a time for you to come over, and I will grab my mask, put it on, and come over to the house, and we will do a walkthrough. So we want to get a general idea about what we need to do in order to get your home ready to be sold. And one of the things that I learned early on in my real estate career is that the way that we live in a house is not the way that we sell a house. So let me give you an example. One of the things that most buyers focus on is the kitchen. Kitchen and bathrooms are really kind of the two main things. And if you come into my kitchen today, I'll show a picture of it for you here. So as you can see right now, we've got the coffee pot, which is something that stays on there. We've also got the mix master. We've got the Vitamix. We've got coffee mugs. We've got a cutting board. I like to bake. So we've got all sorts of things on the kitchen counter that are not there when we sell a home. So when it's time to sell the house, the coffee pot will stay. But if you look at the rest of the stuff, it's all going to disappear. Not that I'm selling my home and moving it anytime soon. So we're looking at what needs to move off the counters and what can stay on the counters, what we need to do with closets, what we need to do with all sorts of different things. But it gives me a general idea about what you need to do, and I'm going to be giving you some notes about that as we go through. So we're going to look at closets. We're going to look at storage areas. We're going to look in the basement, the attic if you have one, anything like that. So once you say, yeah, great, we are ready to go, we're ready to list this home, there's still a bunch of steps, but then we decide, okay, great, we're going to work together. We need to do some paperwork. And because it's real estate, there's lots of paperwork. So there's a listing agreement, and there are disclosures. So there are three main disclosures. Sometimes there are more, sometimes there are less, depending upon age of the home and a bunch of different things. But there's the seller property disclosure, which is going to be there regardless of whether or not we're selling a condo, a house, a townhouse. There's going to be a radon disclosure for any single family home or any condo that is on the second floor or first floor or ground floor. If it's the third floor or above, we don't need to get that done. And then lead-based paint disclosure for any home that was built prior to 1978. So there's some other disclosures also, but those are the main ones. In that listing agreement, we're also going to have beginning date and end date but most importantly, the price. So I'm going to do a market analysis of the house or the condo or townhouse. I'm going to tell you this is what I believe it will sell for. I typically give you a range. It depends upon the price range that you're in. Sometimes it's a very narrow range of $5,000 to $10,000. Sometimes it's $25,000 to $50,000. Sometimes when you start getting over $1 million, it could be a $100,000 price range. Usually not. Usually it's the $25,000 to $50,000 price range. But I'm going to tell you, this is kind of the way it goes. And there's a separate video that I'm going to do on pricing specifically, going over that, and I'm going to show you kind of how we do that. So take a look at that if that's something that's of interest to you. One thing that we know, years now of research that we have done on this, if we price a home right, it is going to sell within the first 4 weeks of being on the market. In fact, if we price it really right, we are going to get it sold within the first week, and typically we're going to get at least one full price offer or awfully close to full price. If we miss it on price, it's going to sit on the market, and it's going to sit for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 months, and typically we end up selling it actually for less than 90% of that original list price. So price it right, get it sold quickly. That's what everybody likes. Okay. So we've got the price, we got the paperwork. Next thing up is any repairs that need to be done. And this is what we identified during the walkthrough. So we take a look and we say, hey, did you know that that gutter is falling off the back of the house? Let's get somebody out there and fix it, because when we get a contract, somebody's going to take a look at that. They're going to want that done. But more importantly, when they see that something is wrong with the house, that it's visible to their eye, they are going to take dollars off of the price. Just had this happen with a listing of ours where the Whirlpool tub didn't work, and the buyers came in and they asked for a $2,000 credit for that. Well, the plumber came out, did a little bit of work. Less than $300 later, they were out the door. A lot less than that $2,000 that the seller or the buyer thought it was going to be. But when buyers see things, then they start mentally subtracting numbers for what it's going to cost for them to fix it or repair it. So we like to do that up front. The other thing that we like to do is we like to start packing. So you're moving. You're going to have to pack at some point. Let's start packing early up. So here we are in the middle of the summer, getting ready to move. You're probably not going to need your winter clothes. Conversely, if it's the middle of the winter or the beginning of the winter, you don't need the shorts and the t-shirts and the swimsuits. Pack those up, get them into boxes, get them stacked neatly into the basement or in the attic or corner of the garage. But let's start to thin everything out and make it look like there's lots of room in the home. And the buyers who come in, they're going to not open up a closet and see that all of a sudden sheets and pillows and all sorts of things are falling out. We want to make sure that it looks great that way. Once the staging is done, once everything looks good, then the next step is photos. So I bring in a professional photographer, and he or she is going to take as many photos as possible. So if you're in a 1-bedroom condo and there's only 3 rooms, we're probably going to get maybe 8 to 10 photos. If you're in a 18-room home along the lake, we're probably going to have 50 photos. So it just depends upon the size, different things that we want to feature. If there's something really cool about the neighborhood, then we're going to want to feature that also. If there's some great parks or anything like that, we're going to put that in there because we want people to know about it. Then we start with all of our marketing. So one of the things is the sign. That's going to come. We're going to put it in the front yard, and or if you're in a condo, we're going to hopefully put it on the front fence if there is one, if we're allowed to do that. And we're going to start our marketing. So we do a lot of social media marketing, as you may have figured out. Facebook, Instagram, those things are part of our daily life right now. YouTube, as you're watching this on YouTube. So we are going to do videos, we're going to do pictures, we're going to get all that out to the general public and let them know about that. We are going to contact our database and let them know about your home. We're going to try to contact your neighbors and let them know about your home. We're also going to schedule an open house if we can and if it's okay with you, so that we can get as many people as possible in through the doors. So our marketing plan launches even before we put the home on the market. And a big part of that is we put it on the market and we want everything ready to go. We don't want to hold anything back, just waiting until later. We want to, basically, as the saying goes, fire all of our guns at once and make sure that everybody knows your home is for sale and it's on the market. Okay, so as we get into the multiple listing service, there's two other things that we need to do. I keep forgetting the way I'm sitting here. This is two different things. One is we need to set up showing instructions. So when a buyer's agent wants to show your home, typically they're going to schedule something through what we call showing time. And it's just an automated system. They put in, I want to see the house on Thursday at 2 p.m. You are then going to get an email or a text message, or if you prefer a phone call, saying, David Taylor has requested a showing at 2 p.m. on Thursday. You press yes, you press no, or Y or N, and you allow the showing, or you decline the showing. Now, if the home is vacant, then that obviously is going to be something totally different. But if you're living in the house, or somebody's living in the house, you have control over who's coming and who's going. So that if you say, you know what, the kids are in school until 3 o'clock, we're going to block out those times so that the kids aren't, being disturbed, assuming that they're homeschooling. If they're back at school, then, hey, we want them to come before the kids come home at 3:30 or something like that. The other thing is a lockbox. So we're going to put a lockbox on the front door. This is an electronic lockbox that only real estate agents have access to, and appraisers. So basically, I know who comes, who goes, what time they're coming, what time they're going, and it is incredibly safe and secure for you. So two other things. Okay, so the house is listed, it's on the market, and all of a sudden you start getting showing requests. Somebody comes, they're coming at 2 o'clock. What do? You leave the house. That is what you do. So that is why we want to make sure that it's convenient time for you. You do not want to be in your house when somebody is looking at it. And the main reason is that they are going to feel inhibited or be a little bit nervous about opening up cupboards and opening up closets and looking at everything. We don't want that. We want them to walk into the house, fall in love with it, and then look at every little thing, thinking, I can put my KitchenAid Bixmaster right here. I can do this. This would be a great place for the Peloton bike. So if you're there, they don't do that. We want to make sure that they do that. So you're going to disappear when the showing is over. You're going to come back home. Typically, showings take anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour. If they're still there after 45 minutes or an hour, that means they really like the home and they're interested, and we like that. And that's great. Hopefully, we price it right. We're going to get 3, 4, 5 showings right away. We're going to get an offer, and then we start negotiating. So when the offer comes in, there are 3 types of offers that we typically get. The first is, and we don't get these too often, if we do, it's usually in the first 24 to 48 hours. It's, wow, this is a great offer. Let's accept it. We're not going to change anything about it. The price is great. The closing date is great. Everything about it is wonderful. It does happen occasionally, but not too often. So that is the first offer. The second offer is the one that's just so horrible, like I can't believe it. I got one of these actually last summer where somebody sent me an offer. We'd only been on the market for 24 hours and it was $100,000 below list price. And I asked the agent, I said, I don't want to be a jerk, but like, what makes you think that we would accept this offer? This is like crazy. We would never accept it. And we didn't. We just rejected it out of hand. We're like, boom, that's it. The third offer, which is the one that we most often get, is something where we're going to negotiate. So we may negotiate on price. We may negotiate on closing date. We may negotiate on credit. There's all, basically 3 or 4 or 5 different things that we may negotiate on. But those are the main ones. So we go back and forth. And once we have an agreement, then we are under contract. It becomes a pending contract. We then go into the period of the attorney inspection period. It's a 5-day period. It's called AI. And during that 5-day period, and it's business days, by the way. So let's say we go under contract on a Wednesday afternoon. It starts the following Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Don't count. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's when they have to get the inspection done. If there are any repair requests that they want to ask for, they make those requests at that point. And it's during that period that the attorney also reviews the contract You have your attorney as the seller, but the buyer's attorney also reviews the contract, and then they discuss modifications or changes to the contract that they want to make. Typically, they're little things. There isn't anything major, but it might be something about the earnest money, or it might be about termination, about that sort of thing, as well as any repairs. When that is complete, we are done with what is known as AI. So AI is complete, and we have a binding contract. Now, there still may be some contingencies for things like loan financing or the appraisal. But for the most part, we got a deal. So we're moving forward. You are thinking about beginning to pack. You're not quite there yet, but you're thinking about beginning to pack, get movers, that sort of thing. So during the inspection, let me just kind of highlight that. The inspector is looking basically for anything major that might be wrong. So the Whirlpool tub not working, that is something that is, may not be major to you because you haven't used it in the 15 years you've lived there, but if it has a Whirlpool tub and we've advertised it as such, then it should be working. The heating and air conditioning system may be 38 years old, but if it's working, we should be good. Doesn't mean the buyers aren't going to ask for a credit, but you as a seller aren't obligated to do anything like that. On the other hand, if the hot water heater is leaking, you're going to need to get that fixed probably. So we're looking at major things, as opposed to cosmetic things or minor things. Electrical issues often come up. And these are the things where if we can address it before we put it on the market, then that's great. That's what we want to do. You are obligated to do any repairs that you agree to during the attorney inspection period. And it's going to tell you in there, what you agree to as far as, are you going to get a professional plumber to come out, or is it something that you're going to do on your own? So it just kind of depends upon all those different things. Appraisal. So that is one of the things that there is typically a contingency unless somebody's paying cash or has waived the appraisal contingency, but that doesn't happen very often if they're getting a loan. And the appraiser is going to come to the house, and this is typically done within the first 3 weeks of having a contract. They're going to measure everything. They're going to just kind of make sure that everything is there. And then they're going to go back and say, based upon other homes in the area that have sold, this is what I think this is worth. It's an opinion of value. And basically, as I tell people, we have 4 opinions of value. We have my opinion of value, which is what we started at. And I say, hey, I think that the house is worth this. We have your opinion of value as the seller. You think your house is worth this. We have the buyer's opinion of value, and then we have the appraisers. So my opinion is actually the one that counts the least. The seller and the buyers, they're kind of the ones who say, okay, great, this is what we think this house is worth when we come up with a sales price. The appraiser then comes in, and the appraiser makes a determination of value, what they think that it's worth, in order to justify the loan. And I'd say probably 90 to 95% of the time we don't have a problem. The appraisal comes in at or slightly above the sales price. When we do have a problem is when the appraisal comes in below the sales price or even above the sales price. Let's say that we had a sales price of $600,000 and the appraisal came in at $800,000. The bank may look at that and go, "Ooh, what's going on here? Is the buyer and seller doing something that is kind of fishy, something suspicious, something we need to be concerned about? Why are they selling a home for $200,000 less than the appraised value?" That does not happen very often. The other thing that happens more often is the appraisal comes in instead of $600,000, it comes in at $575,000, and then we negotiate over that. We try to figure out what we're going to do. And that's again a whole separate video on that. Once the appraisal is done, the final thing that we are waiting on is loan approval, and this typically takes 30 to 45 days. So the buyer is furiously filling out paperwork and sending in documents. Bank is looking at that. I say bank just basically meaning any lender. They're looking at it. They're saying, okay, this is great. Everything looks good. This buyer looks like they are creditworthy. Boom, we're going to give them approval. Once they give them the approval, then we have hopefully what is called clear to close. And that means we are full speed ahead towards closing. Now, you are not going to wait to pack until we have a clear to close. That usually happens 4 to 5 days before closing. You need to start packing before then. So once we get the appraisal back and everything looks good, you're full speed ahead with packing. You've called the movers, they're scheduled to come on, Wednesday night to get everything on the truck for Thursday's closing. We are moving forward with that. Then, just aside with that, typically in Chicagoland, we have closing and possession of the home at closing. So let's say that closing scheduled for, really doesn't matter whether it's 9 a.m., 12 noon, or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. You are giving the keys over to the buyer at closing, which means they are taking possession of it. They are going to schedule a walkthrough most of the time, anywhere from 20 minutes before closing to 2 or 3 days before closing. At that point, they want to make sure that all the repairs have been done, that the home is in basically the same condition that it was when they wrote the offer, and that everything that contract says is going to happen is happening. So you most of the time need to be out of the house before then. I remember one of my clients one time wanted to move out of her condo like the day of closing, and it snowed. And it didn't work out really well, and the closing on the sale got pushed back, which meant the closing on the purchase got pushed back, and nobody was happy. So typically, and the moving companies are used to this, right? They've moved people in Chicago all the time, and they know that typically sometimes you've got to have your stuff on a truck for 24 hours, and they just kind of plan, okay, we're going to move you out on Wednesday, we're going to move you into the new place starting on Thursday. Not a big deal. Closing. So this is the fun and exciting part. Typically, you don't go to closing as a seller. Every now and then you can, but most of the time you are signing closing documents with your closing attorney prior to closing. Closing is a 90-minute, 2-hour event where the buyers basically just sit there, they sign a bunch of documents with their attorney, title company makes sure that everything is good, and boom, they are on their happy way with the keys. There's no need for you to sit there. So you sign your documents ahead of time. Your attorney is working with the buyer's attorney and the title company to make sure everything goes smoothly. Once everything is done, you then no longer own the home. You've given the keys to the buyer, and you are going to get a check or a money wire, money transfer, basically a wire, from the title company to you with your seller proceeds. And that's great. So if you're buying a new home, you're just going to roll that into the new home probably. If you're not, if you're going to retire and go to Tanzania, don't need to worry about that. Take your money and go. Final thing is, that's it. Actually, that is the final thing. So lots of steps, and it's unfortunately not as easy as putting the sign in the yard and being ready to go, but it's definitely something that I've done a lot of this, and I can answer any questions that you might have about things. There are very few scenarios that I have not seen after all these years selling homes, and be happy to answer any questions you might have about that. All right, so thanks for joining me for Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour. I'll be back again next Tuesday with another tip or another tour. We'll see what next week schedules or what next week brings. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.